Chosen one, this message is not an accident. It found you at the exact moment you were meant to receive it. You didn't stumble upon this video. They've been watching you. Not with love, but with confusion, with envy, with fear. They can't figure it out. Why you walk differently. Why you speak like there's thunder behind your words. Why your silence is louder than their noise. Chosen one, they're wondering. Who are you? What did you do to carry this kind of presence? Because you're not loud. You're not flashy. You're not even trying to impress anyone. And still, when you enter a room, spirits shift. Eyes turn. The air changes. They feel you, even if they don't understand you. You were marked, not by people, not by the world, but by heaven. That's why you never fit in. That's why they treated you like an outsider. That's why you've been through betrayal, silence, isolation. Because when you're chosen, you become the enemy of the ordinary. And now, the tables are turning. The same people who dismissed you are now whispering about you, trying to make sense of what's happening in your life. They say, how is he still standing? How did she survive that? Who's backing him? They don't know the answer. But you do. You were never alone. You were never forgotten. You were never just normal. Chosen one, heaven put something inside of you that confuses the enemy and awakens the broken. Your story isn't just a comeback. It's a sign, a warning, a prophetic confirmation that God is still moving. That's why they stare. That's why they copy your words. That's why they can't stop watching. You carry something they can't explain, and something they can never steal. Not popularity, not influence, but divine authority. That's what's rising in you now. And this is only the beginning. Chosen one. They saw your wounds, but not your warfare. They witnessed your silence, but not your strategy. They thought you were finished, but heaven was just hiding you. You were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be revealed. And now that unveiling has begun. People who once walked past you without a second thought are suddenly curious. They sense something is coming, something they didn't prepare for. You. See, when God chooses someone, He doesn't consult the crowd. He doesn't ask for opinions. He moves in secrecy, then shocks the world. And you were built in secret, molded in shadows, refined through fire. Now the glow they see. It's not luck. It's not a phase. It's the reflection of divine favor. They're starting to wonder what changed in you. But chosen one, the truth is, you changed the atmosphere, the power in your voice, the weight in your walk, the stillness in your spirit. It all came from the crushing, the nights nobody saw, the prayers nobody heard, the tears nobody wiped. They think you're lucky, but you're anointed. They think you trained for this, but you were called for this. Even your mistakes, even your failures. God used every broken piece to sharpen your spirit. So now you don't just carry wisdom. You carry spiritual intelligence. You don't just inspire. You ignite. And that's why they can't figure you out. Because what you carry didn't come from books or fame or followers. It came from God's hand. And when His hand is on you, no one can block it. No one can replicate it. No one can stop it. Chosen one. They thought they knew your story. They labeled you based on a chapter they barely understood. But what they didn't realize was that God was just getting started. Every delay you faced, Every rejection, every closed door, was heaven's protection. You weren't being denied. You were being hidden from what wasn't meant to hold your greatness. And now they're confused, because the version of you they thought would stay broken is walking in power. The one they pitied is rising with purpose. The one they doubted is now the one they seek answers from. But chosen one, you owe no explanations. You don't have to defend your glow. You don't have to prove why you survived. Your existence is the proof. Your breath is the proof. Your peace after all the chaos is evidence of divine intervention. They don't understand how you got back up. They don't know the private battles. They didn't see you wrestling with yourself, trying to hold on when your mind was slipping. But God saw. He heard every whisper, every prayer you couldn't even speak. And while they slept on you, He was building you. So now, they whisper, they watch, they wonder, but they're late. Because God already spoke over your life. He already appointed you for impact. That's why you're dangerous now. Not because you're perfect, but because you're unshakable. Keep moving in silence. Let them wonder. Because what's coming next in your life? It will answer every question they've ever had, chosen one. They tried to bury you in rumors. They tried to drown your name in doubt. They tried to mock what they didn't understand. But what they didn't know is that God was using their rejection as your promotion. He was using their silence to teach you how to hear His voice louder. He was using their absence to strengthen your dependency on Him. And now, you walk differently. You speak with purpose. You move like someone who's been touched by fire and survived. That's why they're uncomfortable. That's why they stare longer than usual. Because the one they tried to overlook now carries weight in the spirit realm. You don't look like what you've been through, but everything you've been through is carried in your presence. The way you hold your peace, the way you refuse to explain yourself, the way you carry calm in a room full of chaos. That's not pride. That's not arrogance. That's spiritual mastery. You learned how to be still in storms. You learned how to trust when nothing made sense. You learned how to hear God when the world went silent on you. And now your fruit is exposing their roots. They can't fake what you carry. They can't imitate your path. Because this wasn't built on shortcuts. It was built on surrender. They wonder why doors open for you. They wonder why favor follows you. It's simple. You sacrificed when no one was looking. You obeyed when it hurt. You let go when it didn't make sense. That's why heaven trusts you now. That's why your steps are ordered and protected. Let them keep wondering. Let them keep watching. Because what God is about to do through you, it won't need defending. It will be undeniable. Chosen one, you were never in competition. Because what's inside of you was never meant to compete. It was meant to dominate. While they chased attention, you chased alignment. While they built platforms, you built character. And that's why the foundation beneath you is unshakable. You didn't rush. You didn't fake it. You didn't sell your soul for quick applause. You stayed hidden. You stayed low. You stayed faithful. And now the same ones who thought you were behind are realizing you're miles ahead. They can't figure it out. Because in their world, success is loud, fast, and visible. But you were sharpened in silence, tested in loneliness, trained in wilderness. Chosen one, you carry real oil. Not manufactured, not bought, but crushed, pressed, and purified. That's why your presence carries weight. Not because you speak much, but because you've walked through fire and came out refined. And they sense it. They feel it. That quiet confidence, that holy authority, that unexplainable peace. It's shaking the atmosphere around you. And they don't know how to respond. Some will try to imitate you. Some will try to study you. But none can duplicate what heaven gave only to you. Because what you carry has a signature on it. God's fingerprint is all over your destiny. And no demon, no hater, no system can remove it. So walk tall not in ego, but in evidence. The evidence that God still raises the overlooked. That He still honors the humble. That He still elevates the obedient. And you're proof of that. Chosen one. They called it luck. They said it was just timing. They whispered that maybe you got lucky. But what they'll never understand is the cost. The nights you cried in silence. The seasons of loneliness so deep, you forgot what peace felt like. The prayers you prayed when even you didn't believe in yourself anymore. That wasn't luck. That was warfare. And you didn't win because you were the strongest. You won because you refused to quit. Even when your hands were trembling. Even when your heart was breaking. You kept moving. You kept showing up. You kept believing. When nothing around you gave you a reason to. And now, that perseverance has birthed something rare in you. A kind of wisdom that can't be taught. A kind of strength that can't be copied. A kind of peace that makes no sense to the world. They're wondering why you're glowing now. They're wondering how you're still standing. But chosen one, it's not just that you survived. It's how you survived. With your integrity. With your identity. With your spirit intact. You didn't become bitter. You didn't become fake. You didn't let the world reshape what God placed inside you. And now heaven is making it known. You were His all along. Every delay was divine. Every detour was protection. Every breakdown was preparation. So while they question your glow, heaven is preparing your revealing. Because when God finishes what He started in you, there will be no confusion, no debate, no explanation needed. They'll know, chosen one. You were never trying to prove yourself. You were trying to find yourself. And in that search, you didn't just discover your identity. You uncovered your calling. That's what makes you different. You weren't chasing fame. You weren't chasing applause. You were chasing truth. You were chasing God. You were chasing something eternal. And now the light inside of you is exposing everything around you. It's why some people pulled away. It's why old connections faded without warning. Not because you changed, but because your frequency elevated. You don't vibrate on fear anymore. You don't operate on insecurity anymore. You don't settle for fake anymore. And people feel that shift. Some are inspired by it. Some are intimidated by it. But no one can ignore it. Because what you carry now is not just presence. It's power. Unseen. Unshaken. Unstoppable. There's a weight on your words now. A charge in your silence. A fire in your footsteps. And it's not random. It's the result of divine crushing. Chosen one, you paid a price in the dark that few would ever understand. You went through spiritual boot camp while others slept in comfort. And that's why your anointing is undeniable. That's why demons tremble when you pray. That's why atmospheres shift when you speak. That's why favor chases you even when you're not looking for it. They thought they buried you, but they didn't know you were a seed. And now the roots run deep. The foundation is unbreakable. And the harvest is coming. Let them keep asking who you are. Let them keep watching from a distance. Because soon, what God does through you will make even your past enemies testify. Chosen one. You don't need to respond to the whispers. You don't need to explain the glow. You don't need to lower your volume just to make others feel comfortable. Because this light on you, it wasn't self-made. It was God-ordained. And now every room you walk into feels it. Not because you're loud, but because your spirit speaks before your mouth does. They feel your alignment. They sense your discernment. They're unsettled by your clarity. Because confusion used to be your prison. And now it's your weapon. You don't second-guess anymore. You don't beg to be seen. You don't chase what's already yours. Because when you're truly chosen, you become the magnet. You stop knocking on doors and start becoming the door others pray to walk through. Chosen one. You were never average. You were just covered. Covered while God healed you. Covered while He restructured your mind. Covered while He detoxed your spirit from everything sent to kill your destiny. And now, you move with precision. Not because you're perfect, but because you finally know who you are. They used to call you sensitive. Now they call you intuitive. They used to call you quiet. Now they say you carry peace. They used to ignore you. Now they study you. The shift wasn't external. It was internal. And now it's echoing through your world. Through your relationships. Through your atmosphere. You've become a living reminder that God's hand still rests on the misfits, the misunderstood, the rejected, and turns them into beacons. You didn't force it. You just healed. You just trusted. You just endured. And now you don't just walk in purpose. You embody it. Chosen one. You stopped looking for validation when you realized your value was eternal. You stopped chasing connection when you saw how many were connected to your potential, not your pain. And now you walk differently. Not with pride, but with presence. Because you've been to the bottom. You faced storms that stripped everything. Except your faith, you lost things you thought you couldn't live without. You let go of people who felt permanent. You walked through seasons where your name wasn't mentioned. Your effort wasn't noticed. Your worth wasn't recognized. But still, you kept chosen one. There's a reason you were hidden so long. A reason things didn't happen when you wanted them to. A reason the spotlight skipped over you, while others were celebrated for doing less. With no depth, no power, no purpose. It wasn't rejection. It was preservation. Because what God placed inside of you couldn't be rushed. It had to mature in silence. It had to be tested in seasons of isolation. That's why your voice hits differently now. Why your words carry weight, even when you whisper. Why your presence makes people pause, even if they don't understand why. You didn't just go through pain. You were processed by it. And that process birthed vision. It carved out discernment. It awakened a hunger for God that no blessing could replace. You stopped asking, "Why me?" and started realizing, it had to be me. Because nobody else would have carried it like you. Nobody else would have stayed faithful when it didn't make sense. Nobody else would have protected the oil like you did. Chosen one. That's why the shift is happening now. Why people who never saw you before are starting to notice. Why rooms that once ignored you are now reaching out. It's not popularity. It's prophecy unfolding. And it's shaking people. Because you weren't supposed to make it. Not with what you've been through. not with how many times the enemy tried to take you out, not with how many turned their backs when you needed them most. But God had the final word, and He didn't just preserve you. He positioned you. So now you walk with a grace that can't be explained, a power that can't be denied, a covering that hell can't penetrate, and the world can't help but notice. Chosen one. They thought it was over when you fell. They thought that failure would break you, that loss would silence you, that betrayal would bury you. But what they didn't know was that every hit you took was making you heavier in the spirit. Every scar became a seal. Every tear watered the seeds of your future. Every closed door was God's way of saying, "Not here, your room is being built elsewhere." And now that room is ready. Now the space you were designed for is calling your name. Not because you forced your way in, but because you were prepared in the shadows. They can't figure out your boldness. They can't track your growth, because your elevation didn't come through their system. You weren't voted in. You were sent. And those who are sent carry a different energy. You're not worried about who likes you. You're concerned with who's assigned to you. That's why you move different. That's why you protect your peace. That's why you don't chase clout or validation. You've outgrown all that. Because when you've walked through hell and God still brought you out whole, you stop craving applause from broken people. They wanted you to be quiet. They hoped you'd shrink to fit their comfort. But chosen one, your silence was never weakness. It was sacred preparation. And now heaven is opening strategic gates. Opportunities with your name on them. Favor that doesn't make sense to the world. Connections that were hidden until the appointed time. And this time you won't have to knock. The door will swing open. Because what you carry isn't just needed. It's been waited for. Chosen one. You've seen too much to go back. You felt too much to stay silent. You've carried too much to keep pretending you're ordinary. You're not. You are a divine interruption to every curse that ran through your bloodline. A walking contradiction to everything the enemy thought he had planned. A living prophecy that cannot be stopped, silenced, or erased. This is not the season to question yourself. This is not the moment to play small. This is your divine launch, and heaven is watching how you respond. No more delay. No more excuses. No more waiting for perfect conditions. Chosen one, you are the condition. When you move, things shift. When you speak, chains break. When you show up, hell takes notice. So here's the call. Stop watching from the sidelines. Stop wondering if you're ready. You are ready. Now act like it. Stand like it. Walk like it. Pray like it. Live like it. And if your spirit is rising right now, then this isn't just a message, it's your confirmation. Subscribe to Chosen Core now. This is your tribe. This is your signal. This is your moment. Own it.